So we just saw you play Discard. Oh my goodness. So, is Discard good? Is it bad?
I have no clue.
Eventually, like, it's kind of a utility at the very least. Like, it's, I guess.
Oh, the snap!
Oh,
the
there's
wing.
a snap.
We love that. So Dodo snapping again. Okay, the opening hands here. We've got the Zabu as a nice turn 2 option.
Dodo
we snap again.
Let's go. We have high stakes coming in. Yes.
There it
yes,
is.
Dodo. I like you as a player. You need to know this. And now we have the lineups, and so Nocte, I guess, playing meta. Like we have Doomwave, which we haven't seen so much during this tournament. I would expect much more of Doomwave because this is another deck that benefited a ton of leader coming. Like, I mean, wave on 5 into leader. Good luck beating that.
Yeah, I also love this build of Doomwave. I've seen this deck in particular. It's something I've been playing around with, and I found it really difficult to optimize myself. The one thing this deck is missing that I would love to see is a Goose. Goose in Doomwave is phenomenal because your wave sets everything to 4. You can slot your She-Hulk in there on 6 and maybe put a Doombot in there. But the Iceman Korg early game into a Zabu on 2 and then that Dark Hawk Rockside combo. You've got the Lizard and the Mr. Fantastic for those early game points. You just want to be ahead going into turn 6, which then leaves you able to play She-Hulk and Leader or She-Hulk and Doom. I really love the look of this build. I would just put in a Goose for maybe Lizard, and then it'll be my dream build of this deck. And we're actually seeing the deck which we didn't quite get to cover, and it is a discard deck from Babos against Nocte playing the Doom Wave list. Discard has changed quite a bit. No really longer a possibility to play Lockjaw. Lockjaw got changed, and the discard deck, you really, if you played Lockjaw in it, wanted to recycle a couple of swarms into your Lockjaw and 6. So it's going to be a more generic list. We've got the Wolverine in there. What's your thoughts on Wolverine in these discard decks?
I think a lot of people, especially like after the Sunspot nerf, Discard isn't really a deck that wants to spend, like, to pass so many turns. And with Lockjaw out of the equation, you also don't have that chance of doing it anymore. So I guess a lot of people were looking to what do you change Sunspot for? And there were like basically like 2 choices at this point, Wolverine or Iceman. So personally, I'm more on team Iceman, especially for a tournament. But I can't fault anyone to be like, all right, let's just go to whatever brings points. And I mean, Wolverine is a 0-4 in the end. 0-4 is pretty good.
Yeah, really good. Of course, it's like another backup target for your Colleen as well, if you miss the Swarm. And Colleen can just be an incredibly powerful card. So far, neither player playing a card on the first couple of turns. We have the Avengers Compound, we have the Raptors in the middle, and Murder World on the right.
Yeah, and well, a Dodo doesn't have it in his hand, but this is an interaction that I really want to see because Nocte isn't playing Shang-Chi, which you would expect to be quite good, like against an Apocalypse or Chavez or something like this, but she has Enchantress. And the Discard game plan has Morbius in it. Like, if you drop Morbius on turn 2, you often expect like that lane is going to be challenged. Like Morbius on his own is able to provide 8, 10, sometimes 12 points, especially since M.O.D.O.K got released. So I'm really curious to see like how much Enchantress can play a difference in that matchup on Nocte's side.
Yeah, we see the Lady Sif come down. Of course, she's discarding the highest cost card in hand, which is the Apocalypse. So a 12-point Apocalypse already. We see the Swarm come into hand. So this might be like a Hellcow turn and just pray that it hits the Wolverine, the Apocalypse, or the Swarm. We've also then, on the other side, the Wave, likely to come down on turn 5. And that could also disrupt the Swarm quite significantly. So if the Swarm is discarded, you're definitely going to be wanting to play those down on turn 5. On ladder, often like a Wave or something like that on turn 5 can really disrupt these discard players. But in an open list, you can expect the Wave to be coming. So therefore, you should try and play out as many cards as possible. Also, the Wave then going to stop you maybe being able to empty your hand, which could mean that Dracula can't high roll.
This is really big because with this discard hand, the logical thing would be to go like Dracula into a Hellcow play and then just finish emptying your hand on turn 6. The problem here is if you expect Wave, you won't be able to empty those Swarms, and so Dracula might discard Swarm, which is a disaster.
Yeah, and just a correction as well, the player is a Dodo, and he is part of the team Babos as well. So my friend Fresh Lobster just informed me of that, so thank you to him.
And yeah, we're going into the last turns, and we both got like both players' power cards down. We got Dracula against Dark Hawk, which I think is going to be kind of the battle in this matchup. Like, who's going to be able to generate more points with their forecast, which is like kind of the carry in the deck. Like, you expect them to win their lane. Like, if Dark Hawk loses a lane, you usually are going to lose the game, and same for Dracula.
We've seen a snap come through as well I wasn't paying attention to see if we got
Wow.
a snap on the stage. You would imagine this is going to be coming from the
Well,
Wave player,
a
right?
Dodo just winked at someone. So I would say if you wink, you're pretty confident.
Mm-hmm.
That's an ice snap, maybe. And we'll see because Nocta isn't going for wave. I really like the Rock Slide Korg. I mean, you have Darkhawk in play, so you just go Rock Slide Korg, and then next turn you can Leader or Doctor Doom. So you have options, and Darkhawk is gonna get a +6 bonus. You know Apocalypse is a 12, so if a Dodo can empty the hand, you're looking at a 16 for Dracula. Can Darkhawk ever rival that?
And Adodo sees the Wolverine discarded, pumps his
Oh, yeah.
fists.
Oof.
The swarm is there, and the
This is
wave
going
was
to
not
be
played
great.
on 5 either.
Yeah. This is going to be great because you have the perfect setup for a Dodo. You have Hellcow, Double Swarm, discard Apocalypse, Chavez, Dracula discards Apocalypse again. Like this Dracula is a 20 on the right.
It's absolutely filthy.
So you go like Hellcow in the middle, Swarm in the middle, put the last Swarm on the right just for good measures. And it's going to be extremely difficult. Like Nocta needs to find a way to have 9 points on the left into probably win the middle because you're never beating the Dracula. So you need to get 8 to 9 points. I think you need 9. You can't tie. You're going to lose if you tie because Dracula is going to be so many points. And you need to develop... So 10, you need 9 on the left, 10 in the middle. It's just too much.
And it's a 4-cube game if both players do play this one out in the first round of this battle mode. Remember, this is going to be the last round of Swiss, so both players really wanting to try and push for that top 8 and leave on a high. We do see the retreat come through, though.
I think she just took her time, made the math, and she realized, like, okay, that was just a great discard play. And I still stand by, I think Rockslide and Core were pretty smart. It's just, you realized your opponent had the nuts as a discard deck, and discard is amongst these decks that can crumble, it can like fail at times, but the perfect hand from discard, if you can't disrupt it, that's a ton of points.
Yep, Mojo World showing up, and we see the Iceman and Sunspot as both turn 1 options. Morbius is going to be there for that turn 2 play, but as you mentioned previously, the Enchantress can deal with that down the line.
And I guess the big thing here is Iceman needs to dodge Wolverine, because that's just a whiff completely. You just do nothing if you touch Wolverine.
Maybe you could like make the Colleen hit something different, but it's not likely to be doing much, right?
And we're gonna have a Sunspot played. Okay, they're both gonna go onto Mojo World. And this is something, I guess, a Dodo left. Oh, we touched Morbius. That's the big one.
Yep.
This one was the huge one because now you have to make a choice. Do we go Morbius or Swordmaster? And with Wolverine and Swarm in hand, discarding is pretty tempting.
Yeah, and also both players playing into Mojo World with a 1-cost card is something on turn 1 you would not do on ladder because, of course, something like a Killmonger or a lesser spotted Electra could completely swing the Mojo World on the final turn. But in an open decklist format, these are the kinds of plays you are able to make. We see the ability, the Isle of Silence, the location in the middle, the Isle of Silence. Of course, Morbius not going to be able to go down in there. Playing Wolverine from hand, 2 power for 2 energy is not what you're looking for, of course, but it is just there as a backup option in case you don't find the Swarm.
Yeah, and I mean, it's Mojo World. You want 4 cards in the end there, so eventually, like, it's kind of a utility at the very least. Like, it's, I guess...
Oh, the snap!
Oh,
the
there's
wing!
a snap.
We love that. So Dodo snapping again.
Okay.
Talk to me about the snap. Like, why do you think he's snapping so early into the game? This is something that a lot of players don't do.
Yeah, I think, honestly, it's his opponent passed. And there's Isle of Silence. And if you look at Nox's list, there's Wave, which you're not going to see come down on 3, obviously. And there's Mr. Fantastic. And Mr. Fantastic wants to come in the middle. And the middle right now is not a Mr. Fantastic location. So I guess a Dodo with this could be into like, all right, so you don't have a great hand. There's a bad location for you. You know what? I think I'm good. And at worst, I'm just going to get that free cube because you're going to feel that this is not a game for you. Like, I really like this kind of aggressive mindset, especially as we were talking, like, these players cannot afford to lose this match. If they lose this match, tournament ends on the spot. If they win, they might be on tiebreakers, or if it goes fast enough, they might have a shot at tagging another match and maybe just getting that second win and sneaking in into top 8. So I think this is the right attitude of someone that's like, I got to take my shot now because that's my last shot if I want to make top 8.
Yeah, aggressive snaps are definitely the way to go at the highest skill ceiling. You obviously it could backfire, but you can always retreat down the line. A lot of people think that if they snap and then they lose, that they've really misplayed, but that's not
He's
necessarily
ahead too.
the case.
He's also ahead in the life point, so he's the one in a position to take that risk. He's like, I get punished, we're tied. I don't get punished, we're like 10-6, 10-4, and now we're talking about you're going to be really scared going into the high stakes round.
It's almost like you're saying your opponent, okay, you want to stay in this game, you need to pay me to continue in this and raise the stakes a little bit more.
Yeah, and to me, like, the big thing is, like, who's going to end up winning Isle of Silence? Like, because I feel like they both know it's going to be difficult to take it, but this is going to be a big information for Nocte, because once again, there's Dracula on the other side, but both swarms have been played.
Yeah, what do you think about this decision to play the swarms on this turn? Of course, there's 0 cost cards. Wave is a threat on 5, right?
I guess you could have hold them one more turn, maybe. This is a good consideration, because now Nocte is able to kind of predict if she wants to go 4 cards on Mojo World. She can kind of predict, like, there's the Sunspot variable, how much points she needs to match, and because she has Darkhawk in hand. Maybe, I think, like, if you go Darkhawk Korg on Mojo World right now, aren't you taking it, like, plain and simple, just taking it and opening yourself to a 6?
Yeah, you're definitely getting, like, a big point lead there. Like, just holding these swarms for an extra turn, the longer you can hold these cards, the less information you're giving to your opponent. And information is one of the most important things you can have in Marvel Snap, because you're playing cards at the same turn.
Wait, what's Nocte doing? Because she's going Korg Zabu. Oh, she wants to go Darkhawk Enchantress on 6. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. And one thing for Dodo, I think this Swordmaster might be the most important Swordmaster I've seen in my life. Because if he discards Apocalypse, we're talking.
Yeah.
If he discards Morbius, we're not talking.
Here we go. We're going to find out the Swordmaster comes through.
Okay, good
and
boy.
it does its job hitting the Apocalypse.
It's still not so safe for a Dodo, because he's going to top deck Chavez.
Yep.
Which means he cannot play Morbius plus Chavez. So best case, he gets a 50-50 on the middle location.
You've also then got a decision to make, because if you discard the Apocalypse with Dracula, you get that extra +4, but then you might end up completely low rolling, playing the Chavez and discarding the Morbius and just wasting that Apocalypse in hand.
Yeah, and now, like, it's really difficult, because I feel like Nocte committed to that Darkhawk Enchantress play with her Zabu. Well, I kind of like just Korg into Darkhawk and then Slam Leader. Like, I really like Darkhawk left, and then Slam Leader left on the last turn.
Yep.
And just copy whatever your opponent plays, because you know they're going to play like a Chavez or something like that. Now, the big question for a Dodo is, do you go for the middle ground, which is play Morbius, which is a 4, but make sure that Dracula is minimum a 9, or do you play Chavez and your Dracula could be a 0?
Yeah, this is a really interesting spot. That Iceman leaving the Morbius in hand proving to be incredibly impactful. And this is the kind of impact Iceman has, but you don't notice it when you're playing.
Yeah,
on
from
your own.
Nocte's perspective,
Yep.
she still has no idea what Iceman hit.
We do see the Morbius coming down. What do you think of this?
Oof.
This is the lowest floor play, right?
Oh, Nocte leaves again?
Okay.
Ooh. I feel like Darkhawk, I think she kind of commented to it, like, Darkhawk Enchantress to the right. I mean, she doesn't know it, but Morbius can come middle. So she doesn't know it, but Darkhawk left, Enchantress to the right would blow out a Dodo, because he was playing Morbius on that left, on that right. Okay, so now it's
Also,
10
Lammy
to 4.
in the chat just making a point there, saying that we didn't see the retreat later button played on play 6. We just saw the retreat now.
Yes.
So the retreat later button is very useful on turn 6, because if both players decide to retreat, the game's going to end in a tie. Whereas if you retreat now and your opponent is still deciding on their play, you just hand them the win for free, and they no longer have a decision to make.
Yeah, definitely. Like, I don't think I've seen yet a situation in Marvel Snap where there's a reason to not retreat later on 6. It's all, like, at least on turn 6.
Unless, like, you completely know it's done and you want to save some time on ladder.
Exactly.
Okay, the opening hands here, we've got the Zabu as a nice turn 2 option.
Dodo
Holy snap
again. Let's go. I really like that kind of mentality, to be honest.
Me
Like,
too.
I honestly hope we're gonna see that kind of thing, because this is the last game of ladder. We don't really know this. I think Nocte is 3-3. Ooh.
Okay, we're locked in, and it's a Krakoa game as well. So turn
Ooh,
5,
Sakar
we've got
too.
Ego for 1 round and 1 round only, unless Ego, of course, appears suddenly to the right. But
Yeah,
I
and
doubt that's
now
gonna
the
happen.
question is, like, because I think Sakar is not really good for a discard at this early in the game. Like, imagine if Apocalypse comes down on Sakar, I think if I'm Nocte, I'm instantly snapped. I don't even look at hands and everything. Like, you're down 4 cubes. Your opponent has been extremely aggressive. This is like a chance where you go like, well, you think you got me? You think you're in my head? Snap back. Like,
This could be a bit of overconfidence from M.O.D.O.K. Like, I understand the mentality, being aggressive,
I mean, if
trying
seen his
to bleed
opponent
your opponent out.
If seen his opponent retreat twice, I don't think he's snapping because of his hand at this point. I think he's snapping because he clearly believes this is getting to knock his hand and is getting him cubes.
And it's the Hellcow, which is a
Okay.
big hit. Will the
Swordmaster.
get
Oh,
discarded?
he got Apocalypse again.
This is the best hits possible. That Lady Sif is then going to hit the Apocalypse on the next turn. It's looking very, very good.
M.O.D.O.K.
Oh my goodness, we've finally seen it. He loves it.
M.O.D.O.K. wanted to snap a second time. I'm pretty sure on that draw he was like, "Can I do it again, please?" Like.
And of course, on turn 5 in Krakoa, these cards can then only go into Avengers Compound. And
Yeah.
for M.O.D.O.K, with very few
Well,
cards in hand, it's very likely this M.O.D.O.K is going to be played by Krakoa. 50% chance at least.
Yeah, unless he draw. No, I don't think he can draw something that he can't play on 4.
No, I don't
because
think
he
so.
got he has M.O.D.O.K.
It's only Chavez, right, which
Yeah,
you
so
can't draw.
the most expensive draw with Hellcow on the board is Dracula. So yeah, M.O.D.O.K. should have a 50-50.
Yeah, because the way Krakoa works, the same way with Ego and Agatha, is that it won't necessarily play the card for the max energy. It'll just play a random card that it can play, and then if there's any energy remaining to play any other cards, it will then do that. So it's not going to like play M.O.D.O.K because that uses the most energy. It's just going to play a random card.
Yeah, and Nocte not having the best turn 3 because of that Mr. Fantastic pull. Dark, that's a pretty good 4.
He loves it.
I heard M.O.D.O.K is just on a cloud right now. It's just like, okay, I can't lose. Like, Marvel Snap loves me. I love it. Like, I think this is one of the first players that we've seen like really express feelings
Yeah.
on camera of the whole tournament. I guess like in top 8 we might have more because the stakes are going to be really high. There's going to be money on the line and stuff like this. But I really like to see this like even outside of like high stakes matches. You just enjoying Marvel Snap. You're just having fun and you just want to show it to the world.
Yeah, and also this is a great way of becoming a fan favorite. This tournament is one of the first tournaments which is taking place, particularly like one of the first which isn't creators, right? A lot of the tournaments we've seen are creators that people know and love, whereas this tournament, this is a chance for a lot of competitive players that have been spending a lot of time trying to get really good. It's their opportunity to make a name for themselves.
Yes, and now we have to make a decision. Nocte is trying to establish where is she going to play that Dark Hawk. I guess once again, like once she's gonna see the Dracula come down, she's gonna.
Okay, it's the big turn 5 incoming. Krakoa, do your thing.
Okay,
Oh,
no enchantress. Oh, it's wave.
oh no.
M.O.D.O.K, yeah, M.O.D.O.K was really going into it. It was like, I'm untouchable, and Krakoa was like, hold my beer. Like,
Yeah. Do you snap here? If you're knocked out, the snap on the wave with She-Hulk and Doom in hand. Is this your moment?
I mean, I really want her to do it, but I don't think she will, just based on the previous matches that we've seen. I don't think she's in that mood. But I would really like her to be like, all right, I've lost a couple of ones. I had to retreat. Now is my time. Like, I would love to see her play more like M.O.D.O.K in a way. Like, all right, this is my match. This is my moment in the tournament. I gotta go.
We see a little shake of the head as the player's locked in, deciding not to snap.
Well, there's still gonna be a M.O.D.O.K for M.O.D.O.K. So M.O.D.O.K is gonna be +8.
It's a
Which
big play.
means Apocalypse is going to be a 24, which means the middle is lost. And Morbius takes +2, and then +4, and then +2. So Morbius is going to end up being a 12. So it's really like, where does M.O.D.O.K think he's going to win? And I think he needs to play M.O.D.O.K where Nocte doesn't play She-Hulk. If M.O.D.O.K and She-Hulk end up on the same location, Nocte wins. If they end up on different ones, M.O.D.O.K wins. And that's just straight up 50-50.
The Doctor Doom, of course, the positioning isn't too important, but the She-Hulk, where that goes,
This is a
definitely
really,
gonna
really
matter.
big She-Hulk. Well,
And
no, there's one thing, is if Nocte plays She-Hulk in the middle, She-Hulk is completely useless. So we know Nocte has elected to play left. I haven't seen where M.O.D.O.K plays his M.O.D.O.K.
Oh, I'm
so
not sure either. Of course, the whole hand for M.O.D.O.K
Where
is
is
going
it?
to
Oh,
get
it's on
discarded.
the other side!
Goes to the right.
M.O.D.O.K is going to take this. He's going to
The
win middle and
Morbius
right.
is going to grow. The Dracula as
Is-
well is going to discard this Apocalypse again, which is going to be 24 points for the Dracula.
And this is going to be a 10-2 lead for M.O.D.O.K.
Wow.
And honestly, knowing the limited footage that we've seen of M.O.D.O.K up until this point, I think if you're a Dodo, are we in the ice stakes or not yet? Do we still have one match before
I
ice
think it's
stakes?
one more. This was a 50-50, right? This came down to a 50-50 decision on the She-Hulk.
I think if
She-Hulk
goes
right,
yeah.
it was a win. So really tough spot there to be in for Nocte. Like, played very well, decided not to go for that snap. This is now the point where the comeback of dreams is needed. 2 cubes against 10 is pretty much the biggest deficit you can have at this stage in the game.
I think if you're a Dodo at this point, I really want to see a turn 1 snap.
I agree.
Like, I don't even care about hands. I don't care about matchup. It's 10-2. We have high stakes coming. Yes,
there it
yes,
is.
a Dodo. I like you as a player. You need to know this. Like, because this is consistent. This is what he showed, and he's been rewarded through this whole series. So you just go for it at this point.
Yeah, and this is the last round as well of the lower stakes. You're just saying, okay, you need to beat me like 5 times
yeah,
in a row. Let's get on with it.
And the other point is Nocte on 1 health or Nocte on 2 health going into high stakes changes nothing.
Yep.
So might as well snap. Like,
Nocte then had the decision to just pass and just give this game up because it wouldn't make a difference and say, this hand I don't think is going to be one of my best hands for the next 5 games, but clearly they think it's like
you got Iceman into
functional.
Zabu into Mr. Fantastic.
Exactly.
Like, I mean, you put Wave into this hand and that's almost the perfect opening for the deck. So you got to stay in this one.
Yep. But if the hand was bad, this would be a free retreat essentially, the last round of the normal stakes. As 1 cube and 2 cubes at this point, going into the high stakes would be exactly the same.
A big 9. But I think neither of them plays Shang-Chi. So that monster is going to stick. We might finally see Enchantress on Morbius. Finally. So Mr. Fantastic in the middle. So the way, because maybe people might be wondering about Asteroid M, Enchantress will reveal first and then move. So you're going to get the Enchantress ability. She's going to remove Morbius points, basically. He's going to go back to 0. And then she's going to go to Asteroid, so it's safe. Like, it's not that location is messing up with Nocte's plan.
Yep, absolutely. That's a great point. In the hand of the discard player, we have the Dracula there. No sign of the Apocalypse just yet, which that Lady Sif would love to discard. And then the Swarm and the Wolverine could be hit by something like a Colleen Wing.
Oof. Okay, well, I mean, Ododo kind of had it coming at some point.
Yeah,
you need to get some bad RNG eventually. You get Colleen, which is not bad because you have a Swarm in hand. Rock Slide is pretty good. Oh, we're not going to go for Enchantress? I really like to go for Enchantress. You just open Wave top deck. Because right now you kind of closed
That's a really good
Wave
point,
top deck.
Yeah, because you want to play that Wave on turn 5, and of course you want to play Wave and nothing but Wave, which then allows you to play that She-Hulk and another card on turn 6. So your turn 5 is locked in if you do top deck that Wave.
So we're going for Rock Slide. There's a Colleen. So she discards Swarm. And now if you're a Dodo, you need to play these 2 Swarms right now as we talk, because otherwise they're going to be locked in hand with Wave. Top deck leader. All right, so
perhaps at this point, though, you just say, okay, well, if I get waved, I'm losing. And you could just say that they don't have wave. I'm just going to go for the maximum points, which is a M.O.D.O.K, into discarding all the swarms, buffing up that Morbius. On the final turn, then you can play the Chavez and all the swarms.
Because
maybe just min-max, right? You just go for your max amount of points.
You can't retreat anyway. And you know your opponent is playing Enchantress. And this is where Nocte's play last turn might punish her a little bit, is if a Dodo plays M.O.D.O.K on the Vault, you still win the lane, even with Enchantress canceling Morbius.
The Doom, though, is also a factor
There
in
is
this one.
Doom. Well, she will have to make a decision.
It would be locked in your play on 6, right? When you might want to play something like Leader or She-Hulk instead.
It really depends. So a Dodo apparently elects to play the Swarms as well. At least he played 1. Maybe it's okay. I like the middle ground, kind of. Middle ground isn't so bad.
Yeah, it's a really interesting line. You think it's like you either play them or you don't, but we're seeing some...
And the other thing is, like, maybe some people would think about retreating in this position, but...
He's not happy about the Enchantress.
Oh my bad, there was Mr. Fantastic. Oh no, doesn't work. Enchantress moves. So M.O.D.O.K is going to take over that lane. Oh no, Doom still wins it. Doom still is good.
The Wolverine positioning as well, actually very important. It goes down the middle. If it was to the left, that would be 12 points, which would be beating Dr. Doom. But it does, Wolverine, end up down in the middle location.
Wait, because if you play Doom, you're going to win left, but you're 100% losing where Chavez is.
And there's swarms as well.
Yeah.
So this might not even be the best spot for Nocte, even where we think. And this is where like the min-maxing came in, right? They say, okay, if Nocte's, Adodo says if they play Wave, I'm kind of screwed. I can't play my swarms up. But if they don't,
I think
maybe I have a chance.
If Adodo realizes that if he plays Chavez middle, he wins. If he plays Chavez right, Doom beats double Swarm because he's 2 down. Double Swarm is +6.
Yep.
And Doom. So I think if a Dodo plays Chavez middle, he has 100%.
Okay, well, let's see. Both players looking like they've pretty much
And
made their decision here.
there's another thing here is it's really important to position correctly to maybe play around leader.
Yep. And I love seeing the use of the rope here, just reassessing all the options, like even just playing them out on the board to really see what it looks like visually.
Yeah.
And we see the players lock it in. The Chavez
The
goes
Chavez
mid.
is in.
And that is going to be the game. It is an absolute domination from a Dodo, but a really good performance from Nocte as well. It was a lot closer than the scoreline would suggest.
Yeah, I feel like the first 3 or 4 games, what it came down is a Dodo was super aggressive. And I think Nocte didn't really know how to deal with it, and it led to those early retreats, which then kind of had a snowball effect on the whole game. But yeah, like Nocte didn't play so bad in the end. Like she took her shots as well. It's just a Dodo was gambling more when he had that shot, and so he got more points for it.
Yeah, I wonder if we can like try and grab a Dodo for a little interview. I think after that performance, that would be really nice. We can see.
I'm gonna mute myself and shut up.
I'm gonna ask you first. What's with like? Why have you gone for the snaps of the confident snap, the wink into the camera? Because I absolutely love it.
Thank you. Well, I was like top 10, top 9 to qualify. I was like, we have to go in. It's about to go down. Either way, we don't make it or we make it. So I was like, let's go in, let's do it. And it also has some slight, well, psychological effect on your opponent. I was like, let's do it.
Now, I want to talk to you about your lineup. So we just saw you play Discard. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Is Discard good? Is it bad?
I have no clue. I was looking at the meta. I was like, especially with this new card, Jeff, I was like, what is going on? I don't even have the card. I'm a budget player. And I was
What's
like,
your collection level, roughly?
2,300.
Okay.
And I was like, let's just play the game, the deck I enjoy the most, and that's like this card. And since then, I'm not disappointed, doing pretty well, actually.
Amazing. So
Yeah.
with Discard, did you ever believe in Lockjaw in your decks or not? Have you been a Lockjaw believer or not? Because Lockjaw in Discard now, since its change, is definitely not an option.
Yeah, I really tried to make it happen, especially with Hella, but my man, even before the nerfs, it didn't work. Why should it work now, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So what's your other deck as well? We looked at it before, but I can't remember off the top of my head.
Yeah, I can't remember neither, because I didn't play it like once. I was just going discard all in. It was just all about the discard life. Yeah,
I respect that. In fact, at the New York Creator Clash, we had the same kind of format where you could bring 2 decks.
Yeah.
I spent like such a long time really thinking, right, I'm going to build this deck, and then this other deck is going to cover these weaknesses. Meanwhile, Ordinary Harry, my friend, who is also streaming, Harry, he came out here and just brought a Thanos deck, and his other deck he just copy and pasted it off like some site, and he's like, yeah, I'm not going to play that deck, I don't need it.
Yeah, maybe in the finals.
Yeah,
but
maybe.
Till then, let's just go discard. Yeah.
Amazing. So Wolverine in Discard. What's the thoughts? Are you enjoying it? Are you thinking there could be something better?
I think he's really important, just because sometimes you have those locations where you sacrifice the first played card, or you can play it to like sacrifice for extra mana. And sometimes when those locked locations appear, sometimes you are juicy and lucky enough to swap him over there. But I still have to say something, like I am, as I said, I don't have like a big card collection. If I would have the money or the card, I would run Moon Knight. So my people, if you have the Moon Knight, go for the Moon Knight, not the Sword Master, because I think Moon Knight can like disrupt your opponent's strategy. It's like a Cosmo when you played and your opponent played in the same turn and on reveal, and then he auto concedes because you disrupted his synergy.
Yeah, so for those that aren't aware, Moon Knight is a 3 energy, 3 power card, which discards a random card from both players' hands, right?
Yes, yes.
So with Moon Knight, is there like any like snapping kind of mentality with that? What would be, would you snap the turn you play Moon Knight in some situations?
Some people told me, well, you have to snap and then play Moon Knight. I would just snap in the first turn and then we go in.
Fantastic. So are you a big fan of like these early snaps? Like, I know we talked about like the mentality, but also like from if we just remove like the psychology and all that kind of part from it, like what's the logic of snapping so like early on. What's your feeling
Mm-hmm.
on snapping overall?
There is actually really just a psychological effect, because I would say, especially if you win in the early games, and then you like snap right from the beginning, your opponent gets even threatened more, and that's when you. But if you abuse it, then he knows. Well, you're just like a poker player who doesn't know to set his poker face on. So yeah.
And it's risky, right? Because you could end up losing 8 cubes as a result.
It is. But also, like a lot of people, and I personally also would say, it's not a big shame if you snap and then retreat like the
we
turn
talked about this
after.
earlier.
It's like still a really good technique, which I would really use.
Yeah, amazing. And I think that's something a lot of people really underestimate. In fact, you can tell this, and it's the one emote which drives me crazy, is if I snap and then lose the game, and my opponent hits me with the snap ? And it's like, yes, I did snap, and you didn't snap, so you only won 4 cubes, and you're BMing me? Like, come on, dude, please.
Yeah, I totally forgot about the emotes. I'm really bad at using them. I don't use them at all, but I think this is another thing which you can also use a lot, because people get so offended, and you don't have to carry it, you have to win. Just use it.
Both the points you've made, actually, about like the whole bleeding, almost you're like bleeding your opponent when you're winning and you're just snapping aggressively. I've been on the receiving end of that against Dera in the New York tournament when he knocked me out. It was loser's bracket. It was very high stakes, a lot of pressure. I lost the first couple of games, and he just kept on snapping me. And at some point, you're just like, well, I've got to make a stand. And then chances are, like, when you decide to make that stand, your opponent might actually just have the hand,
just
right?
in this moment, he might really have it. And in the maybe 1-2 games before where he didn't have it, you didn't react to it, and then it got away.
And then the other thing on the snapping as well, like on the emoting rather, again against Dara, he's like the guy that's knocked me out of the 2 big tournaments I've played in the Infinity Gauntlet tournament. He made a huge misplay when he should have knocked me out. I still lost, but he basically like mispositioned something, and I hit him with the Miss Marvel thumbs up afterwards, because I'm like, come on then, let's have it. I still lost, but it has to be
with
done,
some
right?
pride and honor.
I mean, it's been so lovely to have a chat with you, and I'm looking forward after the tournament to having a beer with you as well.
Really love to.
I'm hoping you've made it through, and looking forward to watching your games later.